Hello everyone, and welcome back to English Podcast for Life. I'm Mark.
And I'm Sarah. It's great to be back with you all today.
Absolutely, Sarah. We've got a fantastic episode lined up for you today. Focusing on a skill that many English learners find a bit challenging, but it's super important.
That's right, Mark. Today, we're diving deep into how to improve your listening skills. Because let's be honest, understanding native speakers can sometimes feel like trying to catch water with a sieve.
A great analogy, Sarah, and it's true. We often focus a lot on speaking, reading, and writing. But listening is the key to real communication. If you can't understand what someone is saying, it's very difficult to reply or have a conversation.
Exactly. Imagine you're in a foreign country. You know some words, you can ask a question, but then someone replies quickly, and it's just, poof, gone. You understand nothing. It can be frustrating.
Very frustrating, and at B1 level. You're moving beyond basic survival English. You want to understand more complex ideas, longer conversations, and perhaps even some jokes.
Yes, so today, we're going to give you some practical, easy-to-follow tips that you can start using right away to boost your listening comprehension.
We'll break it down into manageable chunks, because improving listening isn't about magic. It's about consistent effort and smart strategies.
Our first big tip, and one of the most important, is something called active listening.
Active listening. Sounds important, Sarah, but what exactly is it? Is it just listening more?
Good question, Mark. It's more than just hearing sounds. Active listening means you are fully concentrating on what is being said, not just passively letting the words wash over you. It means you are engaging your brain.
Okay, so how do our listeners practice active listening? What can they do?
Well, first, try to predict what the speaker might say next. Before someone finishes their sentence, your brain can make a small guess. For example, if someone says, "I'm going to the shop to buy some," your brain probably thinks milk or bread.
So you're not just waiting for the words, you're trying to anticipate them. That keeps your brain switched on.
Precisely. Another part of active listening is summarizing in your head. After a sentence or two, quickly think, what was the main idea there? You don't need to repeat every word, just the core message.
That's a great way to check your understanding as you go. If you can't summarize it, maybe you miss something important.
Exactly. And finally, for active listening, try to identify keywords. In any conversation or audio, some words carry more meaning than others. These are often nouns, verbs, and adjectives. If you catch those, you can usually get the gist.
So, instead of panicking about every single word, focus on the most important ones. That makes it less overwhelming.
Exactly. Practice active listening even when you're listening to our podcast. Try to predict what we'll say, summarize our points, and pick out keywords.
Great advice. All right, moving on to our second tip for today, which is vary your materials.
This is super important. Sometimes learners only listen to one type of English, like maybe just news or just one specific podcast. But real life is full of different accents, speeds, and topics.
Definitely. If you only listen to a formal news broadcast, you might struggle when you hear a casual conversation between friends. They use different vocabulary, different structures, and often speak much faster.
So, what kinds of materials should our listeners try, Mark?
Well, start with things you enjoy. If you love cooking, find a cooking show or a podcast about food. If you like sports, listen to sports commentary. When you're interested, you're more motivated to listen carefully.
Excellent point. Don't force yourself to listen to something you find boring, because your brain will just switch off.
Exactly. Try different accents too. There's British English, American English, Australian English, Irish English, the list goes on. Exposure to different accents helps your ear become more flexible.
Yes, and different formats. Podcasts like ours are great. But also try short video clips, maybe from YouTube, documentaries, or even just short vlogs. The visual context can really help your understanding.
Absolutely. And don't forget music. Listening to songs and trying to understand the lyrics can be a fun way to improve. You can often find the lyrics online to check your understanding.
So, the takeaway for this tip is, don't stick to just one thing. Mix it up. Try different topics, different accents, and different types of audio.
Right. So, we've talked about active listening, predicting, summarizing, and keywords. And we've also discussed varying your listening materials.
For our listeners today, we have a little challenge for you based on these tips.
Oh, I like a challenge. What is it, Sarah?
For the next few days, choose one new type of listening material you don't usually listen to. Maybe it's a different podcast on a topic you like, a short YouTube video, or a song from a new artist.
And while you're listening, actively try to predict what will be said. Summarize the main ideas and pick out those keywords.
Let us know how it goes.
We'd love to hear about your experiences and what new things you've discovered.
That's all we have time for in this segment, but don't go anywhere. When we come back after the break, we'll have even more fantastic tips for improving your listening skills, including how to deal with fast speakers and using transcripts effectively.
Before the break, we covered active listening and varying your materials. Hope you're already feeling inspired.
Absolutely, Mark. And now, for our next tip, let's tackle something many learners struggle with: dealing with fast speakers and different accents.
Ah, the fast speakers. It's like they're having a race sometimes, isn't it? You hear native speakers, and the words just seem to blend together.
They really do, and it's totally normal to feel that way. The first, and most important, thing to remember is, don't panic. When someone speaks quickly, your brain can sometimes freeze. Just take a breath.
That's easier said than done, Sarah, but it's true. Panicking won't help you understand more. So, once you've taken that breath, what's next?
Try to focus on the rhythm and intonation of the language. Even if you don't catch every single word, the rise and fall of their voice can tell you a lot. Is it a question? Are they excited? Are they finishing a thought? This helps you follow the flow of the conversation.
That's a smart approach. Sometimes, just understanding the feeling of what's being said is a big step, even if you miss some details.
Exactly. And another crucial point for fast speakers is to practice with materials slightly above your current level. Not too far above, or you'll get discouraged. But if you're comfortable with B1, maybe try some B2 level audio sometimes.
Why is that helpful?
Because it pushes your brain a little. It trains your ear to process information faster and to pick out meaning, even when the speed increases. Think of it like going to the gym. You lift slightly heavier weights to get stronger.
I like that analogy. So, if a podcast is a little fast, don't give up immediately. Try to stick with it.
Yes, and don't forget, many platforms have features to help you. On YouTube, for example, you can slow down the playback speed. If a podcast app allows it, try listening at 0.75x speed.
That's a fantastic practical tip. You can listen at a slightly slower speed to understand, and then gradually increase it as you get more comfortable. It's like having training wheels for your ears.
Precisely. Now, let's talk about different accents. Mark, you have a lovely accent. I have a lovely accent, but there are so many more.
That's very kind, Sarah, and it's true. English is spoken all over the world. To improve, you need to expose yourself to different accents. Don't just listen to one type.
Right? If you only listen to American English, you might find British English or Australian English challenging at first. And vice versa. The sounds can be different and even some vocabulary.
So, how can our listeners get this exposure?
The internet is your friend. Search for podcasts from different countries. YouTube is also full of content creators from various English-speaking countries.
And remember our tip from before, vary your materials. This applies directly to accents too. If you're watching a TV show, try one from the UK, then one from Canada, then one from the US.
It might feel difficult at first, but with consistent exposure, your ear will adapt. It's amazing how quickly your brain can get used to new sounds.
It's like learning to recognize different musical instruments in an orchestra. At first, it's just sound, but then you start to pick out the violin, the flute, the drums.
Perfect comparison, Mark. So, to recap this segment, when faced with fast speakers, don't panic, focus on rhythm and intonation, and practice with slightly challenging materials, using slowdown features if needed. And for accents, actively seek out and expose yourself to different varieties of English.
Fantastic advice, Sarah. These tips really empower our listeners to take control of their listening practice.
They do, and that brings us to our next point, which is all about the power of transcripts and repetition. But we'll save that for after a short break.
Welcome back to English Podcast for Life. We're Mark
and Sarah, and we're helping you sharpen those listening skills. So far, we've talked about active listening, varying your materials, and tackling fast speakers and different accents.
And now, for what many English learners consider a secret weapon: the power of transcripts and repetition.
Oh, this is such a good one, Mark. Many people listen to something once and then move on. But that's like reading a book once and expecting to remember every detail.
Exactly. So, let's start with transcripts. For those who might not know, a transcript is simply the written text of what is being spoken in an audio or video.
Yes, it's the words on the page. And the best way to use them is in a specific order.
Tell us, Sarah, what's the most effective way to use a transcript?
First, listen to the audio without the transcript. Just try to understand as much as you can. Don't worry if you miss words or phrases. This is your initial check of understanding.
So, no looking at the words first, just pure listening. Got it?
Then, listen again, this time with the transcript in front of you. As you listen, read along. This is where the magic happens. You'll see words you missed, phrases that confused you, and how they sound when spoken.
Ah, so you're connecting the sound to the written word. This must be very powerful for vocabulary and pronunciation too.
Absolutely. You'll often think, oh, that's what they said. Or, I know that word, but I didn't recognize it when spoken quickly. It builds that connection in your brain.
And then what? Do we throw the transcript away?
Not yet. The third step is to listen one more time without the transcript. See how much more you understand now. You'll be surprised at the difference.
That's a fantastic three-step process. Listen without, listen with, listen without again. It really helps to cement the learning.
It truly does. And this leads us to the second part of this tip: Repetition.
Repetition, repetition, repetition. Is that what you mean, Sarah?
Pretty much. Listening to the same material multiple times is incredibly beneficial. Even if you've understood most of it, listening again helps to solidify your understanding and recognize words even faster next time.
It's like muscle memory for your ears. The more you hear something, the easier it becomes to process.
Exactly. And for those who want to take it a step further, try something called shadowing.
Shadowing. What's that? Is it like following someone in the dark?
Not quite, Mark. Shadowing in language learning means repeating what you hear almost at the same time as the speaker. You're like an echo.
So, you're listening and speaking simultaneously. That sounds difficult.
It can be at first, but start with short sentences or phrases. The goal isn't perfect pronunciation at the beginning. The goal is to match the rhythm, the intonation, and the speed of the native speaker.
I can see how that would force your brain to really pay attention to every sound and how words connect.
It truly does. It helps with your speaking too, by improving your pronunciation and fluency. But it's a brilliant listening exercise because it makes you focus on the details. You can't shadow if you're not listening carefully.
So, for shadowing, you could use a short audio clip, maybe from a podcast or a video, and just try to repeat after them as quickly as you can.
Exactly. And you can combine it with transcripts. Read the transcript aloud while listening and trying to keep pace. Then, try to do it without reading.
Wow, these are really practical techniques. So, to sum up this segment, use transcripts strategically, listen without, then with, then without again. And embrace repetition by re-listening to materials, and even trying shadowing for advanced practice.
These methods might take a little more time, but the results are definitely worth it. You'll feel your listening comprehension improving steadily.
Alright, we've got even more useful tips coming up. After this quick break, we'll talk about how to integrate English listening into your daily life without even feeling like you're studying.
That sounds like a win-win, Mark. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back with English Podcast for Life. Welcome back to English Podcast for Life. You're still with Sarah
and Mark, and we're on a mission to help you master English listening. So far, we've shared tips on active listening, varying your materials, dealing with fast speakers and accents, and the power of transcripts and repetition.
And now, for a tip that I absolutely love, because it's about making progress without it feeling like hard work. Integrate listening into your daily life.
Ah, the sneaky learning approach. I like the sound of that, Sarah. How can our listeners weave English listening into their everyday routines?
Well, think about all the times during the day when your brain isn't fully occupied. For example, when you're doing chores around the house,
like washing dishes, cleaning, or folding laundry. My least favorite activities.
Exactly. Instead of listening to nothing or music you always listen to, put on an English podcast, an English radio station, or even an audiobook at your level.
So, you're not actively studying in that moment, but your ears are still getting used to the sounds and rhythm of English. It's like background noise that's actually useful.
Precisely. Your brain picks up more than you think, even if you're not focusing 100%. This is called passive listening, and it's fantastic for getting more exposure.
Another great idea is during your commute. If you travel to work, school, or anywhere by bus, train, or car, that's perfect listening time.
Definitely. Instead of scrolling on your phone, put on an English podcast or a radio show. Even just 15–20 minutes a day adds up to a lot of listening over a week or a month.
And for our listeners in Ukraine, even listening to English news or weather updates can be very helpful. It keeps you informed and boosts your English at the same time.
Excellent point, Mark. Now, here's a fun one. Change the language of your devices to English.
Oh, like your phone, tablet, or even your computer.
Yes, you already know where everything is, so you won't get lost. But you'll start seeing English words and phrases every day. Settings, new message, battery low, connect to Wi-Fi.
That's clever. You're seeing the words. And probably hearing them in your head too, building more connections. It's constant, subtle exposure.
It truly is. And for those who enjoy visual media, a huge tip is to watch English movies or TV series.
Everyone loves a good movie or TV show. But how should learners approach this? Should they use subtitles?
Yes, start with English subtitles. Not subtitles in your native language, because then your brain will just read your language. With English subtitles, you're still connecting the sound to the written word.
So, sound plus English text? And once you feel more comfortable,
then try watching some of your favorite shows or movies again. But this time without any subtitles. You already know the story, so the context will help you understand more of the dialogue. It's less pressure.
That's a smart progression. Start with support, then gradually remove it.
Exactly. And finally, for integrating listening into your life, try to find an English-speaking listening partner.
Someone to just chat with.
Yes, it could be an online language exchange partner, a friend who also studies English, or even a native speaker if you're lucky enough to know one. Just having natural conversations will challenge your listening in real time.
And in a real conversation, you have the benefit of facial expressions, gestures, and the opportunity to ask, "Can you repeat that?" Or "What does that mean?"
Absolutely. Real conversations are the ultimate listening practice because they are unpredictable and dynamic.
So, to recap this fantastic segment on integrating listening into your daily life. Listen during chores or commutes. Change your device language to English. Watch English movies, TV with English subtitles, then without. And find an English-speaking listening partner.
These aren't study activities in the traditional sense, but they are incredibly effective for improving your listening naturally and consistently.
And now, for our final segment of the podcast, we'll talk about something equally important: overcoming frustration and staying motivated on your listening journey.
Because every learner faces challenges, and it's important to know how to keep going. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with English Podcast for Life.
Welcome back for our final segment on English Podcast for Life. We're Mark.
And Sarah. And we've been sharing tons of tips on how to improve your listening skills in English. We've talked about active listening, varying your materials, dealing with fast speakers and accents, using transcripts and repetition, and integrating listening into your daily life.
And for our last, but certainly not least, important topic today, we want to talk about overcoming frustration and maintaining motivation. Because let's be honest, language learning has its ups and downs.
It really does, Mark. Some days you feel like you understand everything, and other days, it feels like you've learned nothing at all. And that can be very frustrating, especially when it comes to listening.
Absolutely, you might listen to a podcast or a news report and feel like you only caught a few words. It's easy to think, "Oh, I'm not making progress."
The first thing to remember is, progress takes time. Listening is a skill that develops gradually. Like learning to play a musical instrument. You don't become a master overnight.
Exactly, and it's important to be kind to yourself. Don't expect to understand every single word, especially not at B1 level. Even native speakers don't understand every word of every conversation, especially if they're distracted or the sound quality is bad.
That's such a crucial point. Your goal isn't 100% comprehension. It's about understanding the main ideas, key details, and being able to follow the conversation.
So, how can our listeners feel that progress, even when it's slow?
A great way is to celebrate small victories. Did you understand a new phrase today? Did you follow a story without subtitles that you couldn't before? Did you finally understand that one tricky sound? Pat yourself on the back.
Yes, every little step forward is still a step forward. Don't compare your progress to others. Compare it to your own progress from last week or last month.
Another important strategy is to set realistic goals. Don't say, "Tomorrow, I will understand every English movie." Instead, say, "This week, I will listen to 10 minutes of English news every day," or "I will watch one short English video with subtitles."
Manageable goals make it easier to start and easier to keep going because you can actually achieve them. That boosts your confidence.
And talking about keeping going, the most important word for long-term improvement is consistency.
Consistency. So, it's better to listen for 10 minutes every day than for 2 hours once a week.
Absolutely. Short, regular practice is much more effective than long, infrequent sessions. Your brain learns best with regular exposure. Even 5 minutes of focused listening a day is better than nothing.
Even on busy days, you can find 5 minutes. Maybe while you're brushing your teeth or waiting for your tea to cool down.
Exactly. And finally, remember why you started learning English. Maybe it's for travel, for work, for connecting with people, or simply because you love the language. Remind yourself of that motivation when you feel discouraged.
Here in Ukraine, many people are motivated by connecting with the world, with international news, and with people from different countries. That's a powerful reason to keep going.
It truly is. So, to wrap up this very important segment, when frustration hits, remember that progress takes time. Be kind to yourself. Don't aim for 100% understanding. Celebrate small victories, set realistic goals, and prioritize consistency in your practice. And always remember your motivation.
Excellent advice, Sarah. That brings us to the end of our special podcast on how to improve your listening skills. We really hope you found it useful and inspiring.
We certainly do. Listening is a journey, not a destination. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and you will definitely see amazing improvements.
Thank you so much for joining us on English Podcast for Life today.
Goodbye for now, and happy listening.